Good morning. Welcome to another Business Brew podcast from the BUSINESSiQ part of the Northern Echo. Special guest this morning is Amy Harhoff, Corporate Director for Regeneration, Economy and Growth at Durham County Council. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Mike. Good morning, everyone.
How are you doing there? Everything okay?
I'm good, thank you. Happy Thursday.
Indeed, yeah. Listen, thanks so much for giving us your time. Let's have a little bit of a chat. First thing, quite an interesting one, I suppose, is just define your role there, Amy. That's quite a chunky role. It doesn't seem to leave very much out. What are your responsibilities there?
Yeah, so my role covers all things really to support and stimulate the economy in the county. Obviously, working with businesses, investors, voluntary sector. So everything from leisure, culture, some of the major investments that some of your listeners might be familiar with, like those at Net Park and in Durham City, as well as other really interesting frontline services, commissioning public transport, care telecom services. So it's a really varied role.
It sounds pretty large scale. Just looking through your sort of general CV, it's a lot of local authority, local government work there. Where does all that come from? What was your initial spur to want to get involved in that? Does that come through an education thing or a family background or what?
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to tell from my accent, Mike, that I'm not local. I grew up in Doncaster, back in the 1980s, and it was difficult. It was really difficult. I grew up in North Doncaster. I wouldn't say that we had the best in terms of education, and it felt a little bit really like nothing was expected of us. And I was really driven by that I wanted to go into public service, where I think we've got so much responsibility to give people hope, to create opportunities, to give people confidence, which is a lot of what was lacking when we were children. And I first thought I'd go and work for the Treasury, studied economics, with that in mind, because I thought, that's the place where all decisions are made and you can really influence public policy, and it's certainly important. But actually, I did some work experience at my then local council in Doncaster, my first year at university, and I was just inspired by the people. I think people don't always know everything that councils do. You'll understand your bin collections, your grass cutting, but not perhaps some of the more transformational things that we do. And I was just so inspired by the people, by their passion, by their kind of relentless push to do things for the place. I decided that I wanted to be part of that. So I started life in public service at Doncaster Council back 20 years ago.
And why not as a councillor then? Why being the person who does the work in sort of the background? As you say, people don't sometimes appreciate that amount of work. So you could have been a councillor and sort of been the front person, but instead you're doing all the grafting behind the scenes. Is that just what suited you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's certainly hard work to be either an officer or a politician. We've obviously got different roles, obviously for politicians, really setting that policy and driving the agendas. Yeah, I think I enjoy that heavy lifting, because I think that, we can make a real difference. We need our technical skill sets, our drive as well to get things right and to turn policy into reality. And I just find that really fulfilling.
And I suppose, as you were suggesting, that the thing that drove you into that about trying to make sure everyone has the right opportunity and can do what they want to do in County Durham, that's a big spur into the sort of policies and the work you're doing, is to make sure there's that complete equality right across the board. Whatever someone wants to do in this county, they should be able to do it, shouldn't they?
Exactly, equality, and I think more importantly, equity. We all start from a different base. As I said to you at the start, where we grew up, it was quite a difficult environment, and it almost felt like you were starting from 10 steps back, and you had to fight 10 times as hard just because of the circumstances that you were born into or the school that you attended. And I'm really driven to, I guess, support putting the conditions in place for fairness, so that people have opportunities in County Durham. And we're very fortunate in County Durham, but also because we work very hard, because there is so much opportunity and so much potential here. And we just want to make sure that our communities get access and benefit to that.
I mean, it's a difficult one to sort of sum up, but where do you think you are with that at the moment? Are you happy with where the county is, giving those opportunities? Obviously, there seems to be an awful lot of the regeneration and growth side of things. There's a lot of things happening there at the moment. Are you think you're in a strong place at the moment, or is there still, do you feel there's still an awful lot of more work to be done?
I think it's both. I think it's both.
Yeah.
We have to acknowledge that economies like County Durham, the broader North East and broader north of England have got into a position where a lot of the deprivation has been compounded over time. So it takes time to improve that, and it takes a lot of investment and a lot of energy to improve the situation. We've got a big productivity gap in County Durham, as has the wider North East. But I certainly feel really positive that we've got the ambition. I mean, one of the things that really drives me in this council and in this county is the ambition and the belief. But we've got the track record. You know, you'll see on the ground last year, 20 years at Net Park, you know, a space and science park that you wouldn't necessarily expect in that part of the country. But 95% occupancy and 20 years of success, you know, we can do it. So I think it's both, Mike. I think there's a lot to do, but I think there's a hell of a lot that's been done as well.
Yeah, I mean, Net Park's a great example about how what's happening here is now on a global stage. It's not just a matter of sort of keeping it contained around the Northeast and sort of making that successful. But things like Net Park, I mean, it's an astonishing story. But also the whole sort of county. There's so much happening that it's now getting on that global radar. People are thinking, well, actually, this is an option now. If I want to set up or I want to move a highly technical science-based company, there's few places in the country that are better than Net Park now. And as you say, that's taken a lot of work, but such an asset to the region now to be able to do that.
It's such an asset to the region, and if you know, there's many successes. You know, there's many extremely impressive companies, global innovation. But if Net Park does one thing, I hope what it does is show children in County Durham that if you want to work in space, in physics, in defence, in high-tech industries, you can do it. You can do it here. You don't have to move away. You don't have to go away. If you want to, if you've got the opportunities, then great, but you don't have to. You can get a great job where you live.
Yeah, sure. No, it's a great place to be. Tell me about the combined authority. That was a thing that sort of seemed to take an age to sort of finally get into place. But I think the feeling that Durham wanted to make sure it was going to be a part of it was exactly right, for it, that the fit was perfect and that you could still keep doing the things that you were doing. How do you sum up where the new North East Combined Authority is and what it's going to do? Are you obviously pleased that it's all sort of finally off the ground and up and running?
Yeah, I definitely am. And I think with, you know, like a lot of places with devolution, Mike, you know, this is a conversation that happens across the country for many places on how do they come together. And I think it was the right time. It was a really good time for the North East to do this. Durham's place is really strong in the region. You'll know we're the largest area, but it's really complementary. What happens in Net Park in Durham or in some of the investments in Durham City is really complementary with the investments that take place in Newcastle, and ultimately on the right things we are stronger together. We have got a far stronger voice nationally and globally when we work together, and I think that is only going to benefit County Durham. And we've already seen some real tangibles, money coming in through the investment zone, regeneration funding coming for new houses, and that money just wouldn't have been there. And so it is critical. And at a point where national government have been so clear that this is the vehicle to secure greater powers and funding, we had a duty to get that done for our communities.
Yeah, and I presume the general idea, it seems almost a daft question to ask, but devolution is a good thing. We want more of that. We want more local power to be able to run more of our local services so that we can influence them with that intimate local knowledge that we've got. I presume that's a given, you know, that now that we're in this stage, the more we can get, the better. Is that how it's regarded there?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, as you say, it's about devolving powers from central government into local control, where we've got that knowledge of our communities, where we've got that knowledge and that track record of delivering, of knowing what we need to improve our circumstances and make the best of our opportunities. So absolutely. And I think the North East has made an incredible start to demonstrate that we can do this. We got a devolution deal and then one of the few areas to get a trailblazer deal within the space of weeks. And I think what we really need to see now is that continued long-term funding into not just devolution, but of course, local authorities as well.
Yeah, because obviously, particularly with the new government being in place now, they're going to be looking at how devolution is working, looking at the combined authorities, and quite rightly expecting quite a considerable return. They want it to work. And so the responsibility is ours now, isn't it? In a relatively small window, I suppose, in the great scheme of things. We have this time now, and we've got to make sure we absolutely hit the ground running and impress the heavens out of everybody to say, yeah, look what we can do if you give us this sort of power. It's our responsibility, in our hands now, isn't it, Amy?
It is in our hands, and what the North East can do is what it meets the national objectives. The big national objective is productivity, is growth. And you just look at what's in the North East, whether that's our capabilities in the future of green energy, whether it's science and technology, whether it's data. I mean, we have got 4 incredible universities here, 2 Russell Group universities, Global University of Durham. The North East delivers for the UK. And I think what we have to do now is land that message and just demonstrate that we deliver.
Yeah, absolutely. What about within the council? I'm interested in the sort of structure to say you've got such a wide brief there. What sort of leader are you, Amy? How do you, because obviously a lot of leaders, they need that team underneath them clearly to be able to operate properly. What sort of person are you? Are you a crack the whip sort of person, a quiet word to one side, or how would you sum yourself up? I know that's a little bit of a challenge, but how do you sum yourself up for that?
That is a challenge, yeah. It's a question you're often asked and you rarely learn to frame. I mean, look, I'm really clear, that I'm here for public service because I want to deliver for people, and I'm really grateful to work with so many people who are driven in the same way. I cannot get across to you, Mike, just how much talent and commitment there is in my teams and in this local authority, people who get up every day and just want to do better for their communities that they live in. So to your question, I think I'm clear, but I hope I'm fair. But we are all here because we want to deliver for our communities.
Yeah, it's important, isn't it, what you touched on there, that whatever we do in our roles and however challenging and however broad, you have to be involved. You have to be excited by it. You feel challenged, but you feel, yeah, really, I can do something. If I really put my mind to it, I can make sort of differences here. That's a real sort of driving force, isn't it? I know I find it in my job. If I can talk to people like you, and I can interview people, and I can write all sorts of different things. I can have live events, whatever. And each of those things gives me a bit of a buzz, and I think I'm trying to make a bit of a difference here. It's the same there, isn't it? That sort of rising challenge can be an awfully good thing to work with.
I think you've got to feel like that. This job is a privilege. It is an absolute privilege. The things that the diversity of what I get to do every day, I'm grateful. And so the very least that I need to bring to that is my drive, enthusiasm, as well as your technical skills in some ways are a given. You've got to bring to it that extra energy because it does make the difference. We're here to transcend the trajectory of a place. That isn't going to happen without enthusiasm.
Yeah, and I think as you're saying, there's so many assets there that there could be a danger of just sort of sitting back and saying, look at all we've got, this is fantastic. Obviously the heritage and the coastline and all that sort of thing and Net Park. But you can't, can you? Nobody can stand still, no matter how much you've got going, no matter how high your profile is. You and your team have always got to find a way of doing even more and bringing even more in. Yeah,
absolutely. And Durham as a place was the home of innovation, the home of the railways. And actually, whilst, we've got some incredible assets, both the old and the new, our job is how do we bring those together? How do we make the whole greater than the sum of the parts? How do we how do we take that visitor who wants to come to County Durham and stays here for a night into
Yeah.
2, into 3 nights, to make sure that they don't just visit Raby, but they visit Bowes and they visit Beamish and they visit a cathedral and they go across the border and they go into Newcastle. That's our job, because that's what brings the money into the economy that our residents benefit from.
Yeah, I suppose it sounds almost impossible. You're able to draw up a list of priorities, but do you know what you need to make happen next, so that the next thing and the next thing happens? Or is it just you have to balance all the plates at one time? Or do you have in your mind a thing that you need to achieve sort of next in line? Is that possible?
Yeah, I mean, we have a duty, and we have to set out really clearly, strategically, how we're going to prioritise, because we do have to allocate and pursue scarce resources. And our inclusive economic strategy in County Durham was absolutely mission critical to that. We started that work in 2020. We adopted our first strategy in 2022. And there's a real focus, and the focus is people, places, prosperity, planet, but a really big one also, promotion for County Durham, which I think is relevant to the county and to the North East, to make sure that we know what we've got, but actually we tell that story. But then we've got to translate that into tangible investments. I mean, as a county, we have almost £200 million committed this year to regeneration capital spending alone, and that's forecast at a similar level for the next 2 years after that. And that was, a relentless and ambitious pursuit of funding, external funding, our own commercial investments, because ultimately that's the leverage that's needed to make capital investment happen and regeneration happen.
Yeah, just so much going on. I mean, I'm intrigued as to how do you relax? Do you ever sort of stop? Because I'd imagine you could work 24 hours a day and still not quite get on top of everything. How do you find that sort of work-life balance? Do you find it easy to have a work-life balance? And can you turn the phone off ever?
I never turn the phone off. I've got FOMO if I turn the phone off. It's I think everybody battles with this, don't they? I mean, I've got 5 children as well.
Right.
Like, phenomenal little people, age between 2 and 12. So I've got that real diversity of age range.
Goodness me. Wow.
But I love it. I'm lucky. That they keep you grounded. They keep you in reality. I like to run when I can.
Okay.
Started again this year running, did the Durham City run. Very grateful to Steve Cram and others who make that happen in the city. So no, I wouldn't say I get lots of me time, but I quite enjoy it. I'm quite driven by that. I love being busy. I think very, very grateful for the life that I've got.
I suppose having that young family is a really interesting driver at the back of your mind, that what you're creating now, what you're helping to build, is the place they're going to live and work in the future. That must be quite a force for you.
Yeah, and I think being a parent as well is, but also that reflection of your own childhood, is it just gives you that drive in a way that everything we do, it's about our communities now, but it is about the young people of the future. It's why we're so keen to make sure that everything that we do has the voice of the young person running through it, with our youth councils, with our care leavers programs, because actually a lot of what we do now is all about the kind of generations of tomorrow, as well as supporting today. And I think your children are one of the best spots to keep you grounded on what that is and what that should look like.
Absolutely. I mean, another 6 or 7 years' time, your eldest is going to be college or university or something like that. That brings quite a focus to it, doesn't it? To have that trail, to make sure that those skills are in place for young people of those sort of ages, that they can go to get the right courses, then the jobs are there for them. That's it. I mean, it's a responsibility as well, which I hope you don't feel too much, but it is a thing in someone in your sort of position. You're providing a framework for little people now who are going to be students in in a really short space of time.
No pressure, Mike. Along with, the whole system that makes that happen, the universities, the incredible schools on our patches, the colleges, we're very, very fortunate today with different type of colleges, things like the UTC at Newton Aycliffe. So I think it is a completely different landscape for young people. And if I can play a small part in that system to make things better, then, the privilege of my life, that'd be brilliant.
I think it's a fantastic title you've got, Amy. I think you are one of those people that is recognised as sort of helping to build whatever this sort of new landscape that we're all sort of trying to pull together, being in your sort of position. As you say, it's a privilege, but you've got to live up to it, haven't you? You've got to be that person, and people are going to turn to Amy Harhoff an awful lot to say, right, what about this? What about that? How does that work? I can't believe how calm you look at the moment, Amy. You're just chatting away, and yet you've got this incredible brief in front of you. It's how do you do it? You just feel confident that you're getting progress all the time?
Yeah, I'm glad I look calm, Mike. I mean, you've got to be calm, haven't you? Your duty is to be calm. One of the things you've got to have in any senior public role is that resilience. But I've also got the comfort of a system of working in a really well run and stable authority, and knowing that I've got great people who work for me who are talented. And so, although it's got great responsibilities, you said, and I take that very seriously, we've got a great system and we've got great people. So I'm not alone in this. I'm part of a big machine.
Excellent. Listen, I'm going to let you get back to your big machine, Amy. I think you've probably got a very busy day ahead of you. Thanks so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. It's good to be able to catch up with you and have a good sort of chat around things. We don't do it often enough, so it's good to have that opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks to you.
This has been Business Brew, the podcast from BUSINESSiQ, part of the Northern Echo. Many thanks to Amy Harhoff. We'll be out on the normal channels with this in just a couple of days' time, and hopefully we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks again, Amy. Bye, everyone.